think it's not necessarily a done deal, but I'll be disappointed if he doesn't win.
Yeah, it's funny because I watched it's almost like we've mentioned wrestling earlier. The best characters get turned up a notch. That's what it feels like Heath Slater is. He just turned up his whole personality up to SpongeBob level. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah. Well, when you're playing a cartoon character, you can't be grounded and realistic. You have to be he's a sponge, for
literally.
God's sake.
Literally.
You've got to do something a little more, and it's a really interesting production, a really interesting show, and I think they've done a great job. It's not my favorite show of the year, but I really, really enjoyed it.
We get move on to best performance by a leading actress. We have Lauren Ambrose for My Fair Lady, Haley Kilgore for Once on This Island.
How it must feel to go racing wherever you please. Flying as free as a bird with his tail in the breeze. Even the fish in the sea must be longing to fly. Catching a glimpse of the stranger in white racing by. Oh gods, are you there? What can I do to get you to look down and give in? Oh gods, hear my prayer. I'm here in the field with my feet on the ground and my faith in the air, waiting for life to begin.
LaChase for Summer, the Donna Summer musical. Katrina Link for the band Visit.
I was romantic and young and stupid. I met my husband, you know how these things go. You've got your story, you're in your movie. You are the hero. You think you know what happens. You think it all will happen. You think it all will go a certain way. You think you know the story. You think a happy ending, but you don't know the story.
Taylor Lautner for Mean Girls.
Fine for you, it's fine to flirt, it's fine till someone gets hurt. Till someone gets hurt.
Jesse Mueller for Carousel. Now, the obvious question is, why are there 6 nominations? And the other question is, where are the Frozen girls?
Well, to answer the first one, the way that the Tony nominations work is that if there is a tie, or it might be within 3 nomination votes, they can expand. If it's either in the 4th or 5th spot, or within a certain number of votes, they can expand to 6, which is what happened in this category. If I had to guess, I would say LaShawne's, who is a Tony winner for the original production of The Color Purple. I would imagine she was probably the least likely to get in. But I can't argue. I haven't seen Summer. I've seen the other shows, but it's hard to argue with any of these people. And I think when you talk about Frozen, a lot of that came down to how the Tony committee decided to place them into categories. It's a really kind of a weird and somewhat antiquated system as to how you figure out who's in the lead categories and who's in the featured categories. The technical rule is that if someone's name is above the title, they are automatically considered as a leading actor or actress unless they are petitioned by the producers to be moved to the featured categories, and then vice versa. However, the Tony committee has the ability to say, you know what, this is a performance by someone who's not above the title, which means they aren't a big star, but they are the lead, so let's put them in that category. Again, though, they tend to err on just the black and white rule unless there's some sort of petition. I would be shocked if Disney Theatrical decided, you know what, we want Casey Levy, who plays Elsa, and Patty Murin, who plays Anna, to be in the same Tony category. I personally feel like Patty Murin deserved a nomination. I think it's just tough sledding in this category for lead actresses this season because there is a lot of great work being done. If she would have been slotted in the featured category, which, to be honest, Anna doesn't deserve to be. She's the lead of that show.
Right.
But if she would have been, I think she easily would have gotten a nomination and would have contended for that award. However, it's just it's a crapshoot as who you're going to be up against. The lead actress in a musical category, this is done. You can write this. Katrina Lenk is going to win. She was going to win from before that show even started performances last October. But there's a lot of other great stuff in this category. Some performances that I think are overrated and didn't actually deserve the nomination. But it is what it is. And at the end of the day, Katrina Lenk is going to win. I'm super pumped for Taylor Louderman, who's been somebody who's young but has been doing a lot of great work on Broadway and on TV. She played Wendy in Peter Pan Live a few years ago on NBC, and she's great. So I'm really happy that she got nominated. But if anyone other than Katrina Lenk wins, I think I might not lose money because I'm not betting on anything, but I would if she didn't win.
Okay, that's one of those gimmies. If you're saying.
Yep.
All right. Best performance by a featured actor. Let me try that again. Norbert Leo Butz for My Fair Lady. Alexander. It got me.
Gimignani.
Gimignani for Carousel. Gray Henson for Mean Girls.
Where do you belong? Where do you belong? Where do you belong? Where do you belong? You'll be judged on sight and made to fit. So find a click and stick with it. Say, where do you belong?
Gavin Lee for SpongeBob SquarePants.
I'm not a loser. They don't not like me at all. I don't not leave the house, 'cause I don't not prefer to stay at home.
And Ariel
Stachel.
Ariel Stachel. That's what I thought. I wanted to make sure. The band's Visit.
You're here, she's here, 2 drops of water, the pool, invisible but really real. Your eyes, and soon you're looking in a mirror. You realize you can't get nearer. You are both right there.
I will say, because I've been listening to the SpongeBob soundtrack with my wife and my kid to get ready for the show, and my wife fell in love with Gavin Lee's portrayal of Squidward, just based on the performance on the soundtrack.
Well, wait till you see him dance. He also played Bert in Mary
Poppins
the musical on Broadway and in London, so he's great. The dancing that he does in SpongeBob is fantastic, and I think he has a legitimate shot to win this award. This is one where, other than Alexander Gimignani, who I think got in there because of his name, Alexander's a fantastic performer. His father is a legend. He is Stephen Sondheim's music director, go-to music director, and does other things than Stephen Sondheim. Alexander Gimignani played the King George III in Hamilton in the original Chicago production. So he's a guy who is legitimately talented, and but he's in a role that probably normally gets nominated, but it's just not a very good production. So I don't think he has a shot. Any of the other 4 guys has a chance to win. If I had to guess, I would say Norbert Leo Butz wins his 3rd Tony Award, mainly because when everything else is equal, they're probably going to side with the guy who they know the best, and that would be Norbert. But if Norbert won, would not be surprised. If Gavin Lee won, would not be surprised. Ariel Stachel for The Band's Visit, would not be surprised. Honestly, I think you could have argued that he should have been in the lead category, but he's not. And then Gray Henson, who plays Damien in Mean Girls, is hilarious, and in a lot of ways is kind of a lead male in that show as well. Maybe not technically for the award categories, but he is kind of a semi-narrator, kind of guides the whole story along with Janice, played by Barrett Wilbert Weed. So I think anyone other than Gimignani could win this one, but if I had to guess, I'd go with Norbert.
Yeah, I was actually thinking the same thing with Gray Henson, because on the soundtrack itself, he is your narrator, which I appreciate. I like that.
Yeah, he's great.
It's great. It's a great way of doing it. All right, best performance by a featured actress. We have Ariana DeBose from Summer, the Donna Summer musical. Renee Fleming from Carousel. Lindsay Mendez from Carousel. Ashley Park from Mean Girls.
Tell me what's wrong with me. My body, face, my hair. Tell me all my many faults. Tell me like you care when we both know you're cruel and we both know you're right. I could listen to you like a fool all night. What's wrong with me? How I speak, how I dress. What's wrong with me?
And Diana Rigg from My Fair Lady. I don't know Summer. Obviously, we're talking about Carousel. I don't know much about Summer and the Johnson musical because it is so new to everybody else on here. So
Yeah, don't worry about it. You don't need to know about it.
Okay, so Ashley Park should win this thing, or Diana Rigg?
No, neither. Diana Rigg should not even be nominated as far as I'm concerned. She is a dame. She is a legend. She is wonderful. However, she's on stage for 8 minutes in My Fair Lady, and she doesn't sing a single note in the entire show. So the fact that she's nominated, it kind of irks me a little bit because I've said this on Broadway radio a number of times. Like, there are a lot of other people that could have used and should have had a nomination, including Kate Rockwell, who plays Karen Smith in Mean Girls, Barrett Wilbert Weed, who I just talked about, who plays Janice in Mean Girls, could have been nominated there. I was a little frustrated and disappointed that that Diana Rigg was nominated. I think Kanetta R. Miller deserved a nomination for Once on This Island, so I was a little disappointed with that. I was also a little disappointed with Renee Fleming. Renee Fleming was nominated because she's the singular biggest name in the world of opera, and she's making her Broadway musical debut. She's done a straight show on Broadway before, but she's nominated because she's Renee Fleming, again taking away a nomination from someone who I think probably more deserved it. Now, that being said, Renee Fleming gives a great performance as Nettie Fowler in Carousel, but it's just not a great production. That being said, Lindsay Mendez is going to win for playing Carrie Pipperidge in Carousel. Lindsay Mendez is one of those beloved Broadway people who has been around for a long time. Not very old. I mean, she's in her 30s, but she's done a ton of stuff. She's beloved. She's a former Elphaba. She was in Godspell on Broadway. She's done straight shows. She's done great work off Broadway, but never – I don't even think she's ever been nominated before. She hasn't been nominated. So she's somebody who is giving a really good performance and probably the standout performance in an otherwise disappointing production. And I absolutely adore Lindsay Mendez. So I will not be disappointed with her winning. Out of these, I'd probably give it to Ashley Park myself. But I think Lindsay Mendez is going to walk away with this one. And this one is probably in that foregone conclusion category as well.
All right, then. Best direction for a musical. We have Michael Arndt from Once on This Island, David Coroner for The Man's Visit, Tina
Landau.
Tina Landau for SpongeBob SquarePants, Casey Nicholaw from Mean Girls, and Bartlett Shear from My Fair Lady. I haven't seen the show, so I can't judge on direction.
I think this is one where I would give the edge to David Cromer for The Man's Visit. It really is a beautiful production. It didn't do a ton for me. It was so hyped, but I saw it for the final. I saw the final preview before opening night. So I didn't have the benefit of Ben Brantley's review, which basically said it is the greatest thing to ever touch Broadway. But the reviews for the off-Broadway run at the Atlantic Theater Company were rapturous, and all the word of mouth for the show was so fantastic. I was expecting to be blown away when I saw it, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. It's just, I said it on another podcast, it is a perfect musical for off-Broadway. I don't know that it translates as well on Broadway. At least it didn't for me. I know many others think that it did. I would give David Cromer the nod here. He's somebody who's known far more for directing plays, and that fits with this show. However, Tina Landau for SpongeBob is definitely in contention here. She is one of the leaders of avant-garde theater, and she is somebody who has this very quirky and unique sensibility that she brought to this behemoth property like SpongeBob, and it worked incredibly well. So I would love to see her win. Michael Arden, probably not going to win, but he's done great work with Once on This Island. It's a show that's very personal to him. It's about an orphan. He's an orphan. He was adopted. So there's a lot of personal stuff in there, but he's done it in an interesting way, it's at Circle in the Square, which is the only theater on Broadway that's in the round. So they've done a really good job there. But I would imagine that David Cromer would win, but would not be heartbroken if either Landau or Arden did.
All right, then. All right, to the big awards, we have the best revival of a musical of Carousel. My